So let's see. We were doing taxes. So calculating someone's taxes, if it's like a flip and the taxes on the place used to be like $2,000, they flipped the property, the value went way up, and now they're going to get reassessed. And when they get reassessed, 6 months to a year after they sell, they're going to get hit with a new tax bill, and they're going to see their escrow payments and everything and are going to go way up, and their mortgage is going to go up. Like I told you, I had people that they didn't buy with me in Bethel Park, $500 a month. Their mortgage payment went up, that's really scary, especially if you're not expecting it. So it's something I always like to do for my clients is show them on houses. And the easiest way to do that, so let's say we got a property that was just flipped, it's a nice place, and it sold, $350. Okay. So I'm going to go down the tax calculator and I did what the current taxes are, and they're lower. They might be $2,000 or $3,000 in Shaler. So we'll do Allegheny. I'm going to go down to the school district or the area, Shaler. And let's say this place sold at $350. All right. So $350, and then the current, what they assess it at, it used to be 80%, but last year in 2024, it went down to assessed at 55%. So we're going to times that by 55%, and I get an assessment at $192,500. Okay. So I'm going to put that number in here, $192,500. So like I said, their taxes might have been $3,000 because it was cheaper. It was maybe assessed at $70,000 or something like that. And then they fixed it up. Yeah. They fixed it up. And now they're going to go from, $2,000 up to $6,000. So it's sometimes worth doing a cost sheet, throwing that on here that, hey, your taxes they're $2,000 right now on the house. And this is what, your mortgage is going to be based off from, but this is probably what your mortgage is going to go up to after. Just heads up, FYI.
That's what I did with the tax projection in zip form.
Yeah.
Because currently you're going to be at that rate for what, 3 months, maybe 6.
6 months to depending on the school districts. It's like 6 months to a year before it all gets put out.
The school district that's first.
Yeah, they're the ones that appeals. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the only thing I don't like the tax projection, it assesses at 100%.
No, I put in the
55. Yeah.
55,
I just 55. Yeah.
They actually changed it to 52 in 2025.
Was it 52.5?
In 25, they did. They changed it down to 52%.
Yeah.
Nice.
52 point something.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
I mean, 52, this could be pretty minimal,
Right.
but it's on flips and stuff. Now, if the house hasn't really changed that much and it sold, 3-4 years ago, you're probably not going to see much of a change on if they didn't really update it a lot. You're probably not going to see a big swing, but on the flips, that's when you're going to see the biggest swings on your taxes going up. So just prepare your people for that if they are buying that, because if you don't tell them about that and then this happens to them, guess who's the bad guy? Like you are for not telling them about it, and they might not use you again. Yeah, I usually do. I look back at their history and see what happened to it. And a lot of times you could tell if it's a newly flipped house, and I'll look through how much they bought it for, so I can get an idea how much they put into it, what they're going to get out of it and stuff. I'll run those numbers real quick. Did I finish doing this? I don't think I did. So we'll call it a $350,000 house, conventional. And I think, I did show you guys the numbers down here for this and all that kind of stuff. We'll call it 10% down. That's $315,000. 30-year. Anybody hear new interest rates right now? Where'd they go to? I heard they lowered, but I didn't actually hear. I just talked to the lender guy today. They down to call it 6?
Yeah.
We'll call it that. Yeah, they took a big drop. We'll just keep real estate taxes there. Transfer taxes, Shaler's, they're 2.5%, I think, right? Way to look for transfer taxes, helpful links for realtors. And then, what? Like, what the heck?
Wow.
What happened to transfer tax deviations on the Keystone page? It's gone.
That's weird. Wait, here.
I'm trying to have it printed somewhere.
See that though? They took it off from there.
Was it there?
It was right here.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Shaler's 2%.
If it's changing,
Yeah, maybe being updated anyhow.
updated, and try other help, that is helpful links.
Yeah, that's where you get it. I mean, another way you can do it through municipal guidelines, if you go on here, I think, is it here that they show you millage rates, area information, zoning, die test?
Is there an other underneath?
I don't know. Might have to go to seller net sheet and do it through here. Let's see. All others. Let's just pick one that has it. Or we could just do all others and see. Well,
It'll just keep it at the.
it's going to stay at 2. Let's just do Bellevue, so we'll see. Let's see if I have to put anything else in.
It's not even on there.
Yeah.
Transfer stamp, but it doesn't really. I thought on here it used to give you the breakdown as well. I thought it was under municipal guidelines, but
Third party, right?
yeah, but it doesn't tell you the percentage. I'm telling you. Yeah.
Whether it's 2% or 2.5. So it'll be.
You would divide that number into the sale price, right? Right, on that.
All right. So we'll have to check on that and why that's not on there and that went away.
I just got the 2%.
Yeah, we're gonna stay at 2% because I had Shaler's, right? Transfer taxes, that's going to be 50%, not 0.5, 50. Most of the time, unless stated otherwise on the sales contract, we'll say no seller's assist. If there's a HOA fee or anything like that, you're putting in there. Home inspection, radon, these are usually the same. You can reach out to the home inspector you like a lot and ask them to be sure if you want to. If the seller or if the buyer's paid for the home warranty, you're putting that in here. Sometimes they are with seller coverage. Additional commission to cold banker, $6.95 or $500, whatever you want to charge. Now you could do this 2 different ways. You can say, hey, well, I'm gonna do a cost sheet with you of you paying my full 3%. This is a buyer consultation. What it's going to look like if you pay my full 3%. So we would take 350,000 times 3% is 10,500. But I would tell them some people, whoops, one too many zeros there, huh?
That'd be a nice commission.
Some people might be okay with that, doing that. But most of the time we're going to try to work it in. I tell them we're going to try to work it into the offer and ask the seller to pay for all of it. Tell them most of them are paying 2.5%. We're going to ask them for 3%. But with the multiple offers or something like that, if they are sticking to 2.5% and then give you the best deal, you might have to bring that 0.5% to the table. This is how much it would be. And usually it's at $300,000, that's $1,500. So we'll call it like $1,750 or something like that. They have to bring it to the table if they have to pay 0.5%. Hand money, you keep that in there. Usually 1% of the purchase price. We'll do $3,500. I round up to the nearest 500. and then buyer's cost sheet. I'll zoom out a little bit. You just hit control and you can do that, or you could do it from over here as well. Yeah, down here. So that you can show them, here's all of your estimated closing costs when you have a mortgage. These are they're going to be the prepaids and taxes, prorated and everything like that. Here it's showing those numbers up here, your sale price with the closing costs, your subtotal. Your hand money is $3,500. And then your mortgage loan. So that your estimated cash you're gonna have to bring to the closing table is the $50,479. But you're gonna be paying some out of your appraisal, home inspections first. So it's gonna be like $3,500 plus this is all in how much you're gonna need to buy this home. And say, this is what your mortgage is gonna be? Is this what you're expecting? And some people will be like, 10% down. Is that higher or lower? Well, 6% interest rates. Well, that's even lower. I mean, they just came down, so it was even higher. I mean, they were just at 7, depending on your credit rates. What's that?
I agree with you. It's high.
Oh yeah.
That rate would happen, but.
Yeah. Well, let's see. If you were at, I don't know. I don't ever figure that out like that. Let's call it their 3% interest rate. 1866. So it's $600, $700 swing or so from a 3% interest rate. It's a lot of money. I mean, people were just at 6.8. What were we at? Just under 2,500.
Yeah,
So it took about $100 down a month, which $100 a month, $1,200 a year, it does add up. Yeah, it's almost like 150 there. The drop of 0.8%. So 10% down, yeah. They will. Yep, PMI. Yeah, but you got to reach out to them and say, hey, I paid 20% down. I'm at 20% down. Take off my PMI, because they won't always.
Yeah, if they don't, they should
Refund you, yeah. Yeah, but you got to stay on top of it because they don't always. Yeah. So it's 280. So 2,000. They need 8,500 plus 3,500, a little bit more. Yep. PMI came off. It was about, yeah, 350 or so. Yeah, the change to put more down. And I'll show you guys real quick the other ones too, just in case you guys are getting into them. So FHA, you just got to put an F, and it's 100. You don't put anything in here. Loan amount. They figure it out at 3.5% down, and if you go down, it will say they can get 6%, 21,000. That's probably way more they're going to need. Let's say they want like $12,000 in seller assist is what they agree on. Where we got here, seller's assistance, 12 grand. Come on over. So 3.5% down at 6%. It's not a whole lot more. That mortgage, it's really not a whole lot more, which is really interesting. At 3.5% down, and there's a lot less money to bring down. They are getting $12,000 seller assist. They're buying it cheaper. We can increase that, but it's not going to raise your mortgage that much. But it's interesting.
So if you have a conventional loan, you should not see PIM or FHA. It's something at the bottom.
Yeah, you won't have the FHA mortgage insurance on there. You're not going to have that, but you'll still have principal and interest, PMI, on there. Now, cash, you just write in here cash, and you'll see it's a lot different. You'll see a lot of these numbers aren't on here at all. So their origination fees are going to be a lot less. I've got seller's assist on there still. We'll take that off. They were not going to, and nothing's going to show up on the mortgage. And you'll see here, you know, how much they have to bring to the table to buy it in cash. And then VA, you're just going to put VA in there. Now, what I don't like about this on VA, it's 100%. I just had people that did VA and they put 10 or 20% down. This is kind of funny. It does. Let's see if it allows you to do 20% down. I don't know if it will. So a lot of times on VA, I try to get it from the lender to do it. See, it's just giving me. Did I change it to VA? Yeah, I did.
I think it's just me.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. There we go.
Yep.
But I don't know if it's given us at 20%. See, loan amount 357. It's not allowing me to put the 20% down on there. I don't like that for VAs. It's giving you at 100% what it is. So if people are getting VA, what's that? They don't have to put anything down. Yeah. So it's best to get it from the lender when they're doing this. And you can get close doing it on a conventional loan of what they're expecting if they are putting some down. So, all right, any questions about cost sheets? And then when you're done and they're going to sign off on this, file, you just go to print, save PDF, upload it in your zip forms, and then they can sign off on this.
If you have two HOAs and you're representing the buyer, you know how they have the additional cost.
Capitalization fee?
Right,
Mhm.
I put that under like buyers.
Like in here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I added in there, and up at the top, you can specify the additional costs that they will have to pay
Yeah.
up front.
Yeah.
The only thing I was.
So you put it in with commission.
Yeah, you could change the wording on here.
Yeah.
Yeah, slash cap
1,800
cap fee.
plus 1 month, whatever.
Then you would add those together and figure, so. Yeah, it's a one-time fee when someone enters into HOAs, usually, but not always, 3 times the HOA, 1 month HOA. No, it could be any HOA where homeowners association. So a lot of Ryan home plans or condos, townhouses, they'll have a HOA. And the HOA will be, $200 a month, and it covers your roof, your landscaping, your snow removal, and the pool or something like that. And $200 a month, but to join it, sometimes it's $600. I've seen
Correct.
$900. I've seen $1,500. They'll tell you
Here.
Have that posted usually.
on Matrix.
It will have what the capitalization fee is. If there's additional fees on it, I also take the extra steps to call the HOA. And then say.
Be sure.
Yeah, like, is this, blah, blah, blah. And some agents don't include that. So
Yeah. So
us to do the due diligence of finding out exactly what the cost is.
here's one here. Maintenance fee, they'll call it $315. That's your HOA. And I think on this said buyer pays cap fee of $945 at closing.
But the maintenance area can be into a total number under that area or?
No.
No,
No.
on the cost sheet, it has HOA, so that's what they.
Right here, monthly condo fee. So I'd be, what was that? $315. I'd put that in here. And then if they weren't paying any of I could just put cap fee, I could throw that in there, $1,300, whatever that cost was. Yep. All right. Any questions about this? All good? Close one. I mean, I don't think anybody does. Well, yeah, so this is for the buyer consultation where I'm sitting down with them and I want to go over it right in front of them so they know what to expect. Yeah, because at the buyer consultation, they might be like, oh, we're looking up the 450, blah, blah, blah. And then they're doing an online one that doesn't give you all the details of what it's going to cost for them. Yeah. So I'll sit down with them. I'll do the cost sheet right in front of them on a house they think they want to buy and talk about how much they want to put down. So then be like, is this what you're expecting?
All right.
Yes or no, that's way more than we were expecting. Well, then we're going to have to look less. You're not going to get the nicest house of what you thought you're going to get. So, or it might not be time for you to move. Like that's the last thing you want to get into is like show people 10 houses. They go in to put an offer in it. They get a cost sheet for the first time when they want to put an offer in it. And they're like, whoa, we did this much. And then you just wasted all that time showing them houses and then they reduce their budget or they're not buying it all.
Prior to any of this, or prior to
Mhm.
really starting diving in truly,
Yeah.
you know,
I
recommend that situation.
I find about half of the people, when I do the buyer consultation, about half of them are pre-approved
All right.
ish. Yeah, it's about half. So some are already on top of it, or I send it to them. I try to send it to them ahead of time. Hey, try to get pre-approved so we know best of like
Yeah.
where you can look at is find your maxes, because then it's going to be a better buyer consultation. But some of them, they have, you absolutely sure can.
And tell your people that if they're nervous about getting a pre-approval, if they've already had a pre-approval, it's a soft hit to their credit, no impact to their credit. So some people are so nervous about that it's
They're going to
Thing.
take out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it's a pre-approval, at pre-approval stage, it's a soft pull, no impact to their credit.
Yeah.
Not-
What's 7 points? Like, what is it?
Oh,
7,
wow.
9 points when when your first pre-approval hit?
Would know, it's 0 pre-approval,
The first time.
not until they're under contract.
Okay.
Is when they say, hey, Jen, we're gonna go forward with you. Okay, that's when I do the tri-merge and the hard pull.
And how much is the hard pull? Is that 7 or 9 points?
It could be. I mean, I've seen it 2 to 3.
So pretty minimal though.
Yeah,
At the end of the day,
minimal.
it's not really
It's
gonna
minimal.
affect
Yeah.
them that much.
Yeah, but yeah, so just reassure them that it's no impact to their credit, no matter how many times they've done it. It used to be 2 to 3 times, but now it's just a self pull.
Yeah. And like I said, like at this meeting, even before I do this, the first thing I talk about, have you been pre-approved? If not, I pull up that person right in front of them that I pull up GRA, send it over to them. This is who I recommend and show them where they can go apply. So they know exactly what to expect. And it is 10, 15 minutes of your time. And then we're gonna have the best case scenario of where to go from here.
On that. So Jen, just to let you know, I have a buyer and he's renting right now. And they're selling or doing something with the property. So I talked to Michael, I was gonna meet with him. And even though he was pre-approved for a pretty decent amount, so when I went to sit, and I sent him a cost sheet of just one random house that he loved.
Yeah.
He was probably hyperventilating. So he's like, I think I'm just gonna rent. Yeah.
And thank God. And that's why.
I didn't show one property, but to your point.
Yeah.
Is you've got to see that breakdown before you even take that, even
Was
before, like I gave him the cost sheet probably at the same time you were doing the pre-approval on one of the houses in Cheswick or whatever.
Was it the monthly payment?
I don't know if it was that or just
Because
having cash to close.
Don't forget I have programs.
I know,
He's a first time home buyer, right?
correct.
So I have,
But with maybe, he's thinking in his mind, you got 10 years you're committed, and even though each year, that government money that's paying towards your closing costs, if you leave within 10 years for the PFHA, I'm gonna still have to pay whatever's left. So he has some health issues that I don't know where his thinking is, but yeah. he's
Yeah.
thinking that. And it's so very
Yeah.
important to
It is.
get
It's
the cost sheet first.
so, for instance, went out to dinner not this Friday, the Friday before with my wife, and we dropped our kids off at my brother and sister-in-law's. They got a nice house, but they're like, we really want a pool. We want a nicer house and a pool and a place for her to cut hair in her house and stuff. Well, she already does, but a nicer place for her to cut hair. And I'm like, all right, well, they had a house they're interested in. I'm like, well, send it over to me. Before I even like made an appointment and go showed it to them, I ran the quick comps on their house and how much do you guys owe left on your house? So we 205 on it. I figured they could sell for 475. And figured that out, and then looked at the house they want to buy, did a cost sheet of what they could put down, told and everything like that. Their mortgage right now is under 2,000, and even with a lot of equity in their house for what they wanted to buy, their mortgage is going to be up around 5,000. And so it took maybe 15-20 minutes of my time to do this, rather than scheduling an appointment and going looking at it and then going through everything like with hours of my time. And he made a funny joke. He's like, "Hey Amanda, how much can you get for selling your feet online?" Like every month. Of like, it's not going to happen. So like, and that's what you're seeing right now in this market. They're locked in. They're under 3%. You have a lot of people out there that want to upgrade, but they're locked in under that. Their mortgage rate, even if they have a lot of equity, is going to cost so much for them more a month on their mortgage for them to upgrade. You're not seeing a whole lot of upgraders right now unless they absolutely have to move. Yeah.
You said they have interest rate, which they could sell their house and send over that mortgage rate to them, correct?
That's like an assumable mortgage.
Not unconventional.
Yeah.
Those are not what they see.
Yeah.
If you bought a house that's like, it has a lower rate. You can't do that with that either? Okay.
Has to be all approved by the servicer, and it has to be in their note, and it's not even an option on conventional loans.
Yeah. I've saw a couple come across when I was managing Peters right after the rates went up, and I think most of them were VA.
Most people
I-
start them, but they don't finish them.
I've never seen a single
Now,
one work out.
You have to make up the difference. So say somebody
Yeah.
buys their house for 100,000, but they're selling it for 250. They have to make up the difference of 150.
Never works out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
No, the buyer. The buyer has to make.
Yeah, so the person who's selling their house.
Yeah, but why
has all that
even?
Equity, they could put that on there and then assume the mortgage.
If the mortgage is assumable, not many are.
yeah, it's. I've never seen one work.
Yeah.
Not saying they can't, but I've never seen one work.
Yeah.
So,
Say you have a buyer who's looking in multiple counties, different areas of town.
yeah.
How do you do a cost, you have to do a cost sheet for, like, so you're starting to,
We just give them. I try to give them worst case scenario.
I feel like just do whatever their loan, like how much they can take out and do the largest like tax that they would have to pay and just kind of give them that area and say it can be less than that.
Yeah, just do what's your worst case scenario of the area you want to live in. So if people are like, I want to live in North, any of these school districts, I'm going to take Shaler because they have the highest taxes out of everyone. We're going to pick out their highest priced house. I'm going to take the highest taxes I can find on it and then do a cost sheet and be like, is this what you're expecting? If they're fine with it, great. We'll start looking. Maybe we can move up, but sometimes, a lot of times, I feel like we got to move down from there. And then we just go from there and just tell them, well, if you are looking in these couple different areas, you might be able to buy this 350 house, but your taxes are going to be lower than what Shaler is. So just keep that in mind when you're looking. But
It's a huge sale.
yeah, yes. So what do you guys what do you give to people when you do buyer consultations? Do you have presentations or do you do anything in general? Do you do a whole gamut of things?
See, they have first time home buyers and I just print out that report that they have.
Yeah.
Here's step one, here's
Mm.
step two, here's, if you haven't done it in 20 years or you're a first time home buyer, it's still good to have the flow chart, all of
Yeah.
that. So that's a staple in there. Trying to think of what else I wrote.
The new stuff, I had some different stuff before, but now,
There's my little packet right
nice. If you go under marketing, I think it is, did they move it? Marketing, prospecting?
here. This packet here.
Yeah,
is what I-
yeah. So if you go down, you have buyer materials. So I think they call that the grab and go on here. Let's bring that up. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. There's 3 things that I print out here and I give to people. And I don't really go over this page to page. I just kind of give it with them because most of the stuff I give them, I'm talking about it to them this whole process. But this is that, the home buyer guide. They call it the grab and go on there. And it just kind of takes them through of trusted advisors, step-by-step guidance, pre-approval, offers, closing on your home stuff, transaction manager. Let's get started. And it has what I like about this one, it has the buyer agent compensation on the back of it. So if you can, I'm already explaining it to them, but this is another spot where it talks about they might have to pay me.
Yeah, they have that one here.
To, because I was somewhere one.
Yeah, so go to marketing, information on there. If you have to do that through Moxie.
This report here.
Yeah.
So you'll get this, it will be branded to you.
Right.
Yep. And then I like the buyer checklist. These are the only 2 I really give people anymore. And I really like this, that they created this. And it's something they can follow. Partner with a Cole Baker affiliate agent, what to do, create a wish list of what you want in the home, figure out your financing, get pre-approved, go look at houses, make an offer, do your due diligence to under contract, everything you do under contract, preparing for a closing, and then on the closing day, what to expect. It's nice and simple, kind of a little bit of flow chart of what they're going to be doing. So when I give them this, I talk about this as well. I go through the whole process. They call it the safe island technique. This is what they have to expect. So I just set them up on a search. I think the one we did, they had 17 houses they could go look at. And I tell them the first time we go out, like try not to be too picky, but try to pick 4 or 5 houses if there's that many come up in their criteria. Like I have some people that are only looking to say that there's 5 houses on their total and they haven't seen one they like yet. But if you have a brighter range, let's try to go look at 4 or 5 houses the first time we go out. So then we can get a better feel because after we start looking at places, you might be like, maybe I don't need this, or I actually really want this in my house once they start looking. And then sometimes you get lucky and they end up buying one of those houses the first time you get out. It's only happened a couple times, but it's great. And then, you can start narrowing their criteria, changing their auto email. And then next time they're going out, it's really maybe 1 or 2 houses at a time as things come on the market they really like, depending on how picky you are. And then to say, once you find a house that you like, I'll write up an offer. I'll talk you through the whole process. We'll get a cost sheet from the lender, a new pre-approval for the lender for that house. We'll make an offer. And I'll talk real briefly, like we could be in multiple offers. We are in that right now, but here's some of the things that we can do. We could say that we won't ask for a certain amount in inspections off after inspections. I highly recommend inspections every time though. Buyers and sellers, that's where most of your lawsuits comes out, are because people don't get inspections. I talk about, if they want to pay any of my commission during that time to make their offer stronger, or pay transfer taxes during that time, or offering to buy the home warranty and giving the sellers $65 seller coverage too. So there's some quick multiple offers. I go over that. I don't really talk about escalations at that time with them until we really get into like an escalation type scenario. Then I'll go over that with them. And then once we get it under contract, we usually have 10 to 15 days, depending on what we agree on, for inspections. So I'll send you over 2 inspectors that I recommend, but you can use anybody you want for your inspections. You have to schedule that. You have to pay for that. and just let me know where that is, and I can let the listing agent know. I highly recommend you go to the inspections, so you can ask the inspector questions, and you'll learn a lot about the home. Also, in the first 5 days after we get under contract, that's when I'm going to get your hand money. I've already explained to them. Actually, I don't, at this point, I didn't explain it because we do that later on. Talk to them about what hand money is, that it goes towards their down payment, usually 1% of whatever the purchase price is. If in multiple offers, if they want to make their offer stronger, we can raise that up. But their hand money, if they terminate due to inspections or they get denied their mortgage, they can get their hand money back. If they just decide to terminate or on breach of contract, and they just want out of it for no reason and not for the due diligence or the mortgage contingency, they have a chance of losing their hand money. If the day before closing, you're just like, I don't want the house for no reason, there's a good chance you might lose your hand money because you just wasted everyone's time and you breached contract. Well, that's if the sellers don't go after it. I've seen quite a few times where the buyers were in the wrong, they terminated, and the sellers just never went after the hand money ever to mediation. Like, the sellers just don't get it. They have to go after it. Sometimes they can have a lawyer that sends, hey, they're in breach of contract right here. And then our lawyer says, okay, they're right, release them the hand money. But sometimes if there's any like, no, you're wrong, I'm right, you have to go to mediation. After mediation, magistrate. I would say 1 out of every 10 seller that says that we're going to go after it actually goes after it. Like, that's, yeah, it's, so that's why if you're on the seller side, try to get more hand money. Sometimes $2,000, like, is it worth it for a lot of people to go through mediation, that whole process, and take time off work and everything like that. But $10,000 might be. So just keep that in mind when you're working on the seller side.
People, when you go through the seller's disclosure with your buyers, you go through everything, when you go to respond, your BRI, buyer's response to home inspection. If they're repeating the same things that was on the home inspection, like they disclosed it,
Yeah.
and they would use something from there to back out. I've had a situation where I had to find something that wasn't on the seller's disclosure. Because technically, I don't know legally if they were to use something that was listed on the seller's disclosure, they go forward and get the home inspection. It showed up again, from a home inspector. But that now was like,
you don't have to give a reason though. When you do a termination, you don't have to say we are terminating because of this exact thing.
You just say,
You can just write 13B inspections due diligence.
okay, and leave it at that.
Yeah, you don't have to. I don't get descriptive and
Thing, it was like a retaining wall.
Yeah.
against the
and they're
house.
like, well, we told you about it. We disclosed it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. If you send over,
You didn't mention the chimney, so we're out on
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So if you send over termination, don't just say, yeah, it should still be 13B is your due diligence part of this, like, sales contract.
Agreement.
Paragraph
That-
number 13B. You do the line number, and then you just can write inspections due diligence. But you don't have to say roof or plumbing or exact thing. You just, yeah, you don't have to. So, okay. So going over the process, I tell them, hand money, I'll send them over. It's called payload. They'll see an email for it. If they want to do that way, it costs them $12. But they'll get an email. It goes right to their bank and it goes right into our escrow account. It's very easy. Or you can mail or send a check, mail or bring a check to the office, but you have to do that within the first 5 days of the contract. I just like, and if people are out of town, most people now are just doing the payload. You know what I mean? It's so easy. And you do that at My Deals at the end. When you put it in, you send it over to them. So when you are doing My Deals, do it as soon as the next day, pretty much after you got to execute a contract, go start doing it so you can get that in so they can send their hand money in. Yeah, you're still gonna have old school people that want to do that. I mean, I have people live so close, they're like, I'm just gonna go chop it off. And so $1,000. Yeah. So talk about once your inspections come in, I'll review the inspections with you and we'll go over. Let me know your concerns and I'll tell you what I think the concern should be of what we should ask for. Mostly looking for like safety things, are big ones we're gonna want to look for. And I don't really go into like too much of there because everybody's different some people could be completely okay with it. And some people like, it's a great inspection. We're like, this is the worst thing ever. So until we get there. So we'll do a reply inspections. We have to do that by the last day of our due diligence. After we do that, we have 5 days of negotiating back and forth of what the sellers are going to do, what we're going to, what we're okay with. And then after the sellers have on the 5th day, they have to say what they're going to do or not do. And then we have 2 days to either accept what they're going to do or not do, or terminate the contract. After we get through that, you should have already paid for your appraisal. You have to pay for that before they go and even schedule it. And then once we're through inspections and appraisal, the lender will be reaching out to you, telling you what to send in and everything like that. And then we have to just set up utilities for the day of closing beforehand. We could do 2 final walkthroughs before closing. And I recommend one like a couple days beforehand if they did repairs, like 2-3 days before closing, just in case they didn't do any repairs right or their stuff isn't out. I don't recommend doing a final walkthrough the day of closing, because that's when, why isn't all your stuff out? These repairs are done wrong and so on. Like you're allowed to do it ahead of time if there's, just to be safe. So then you have time to figure out where to go from there and try to hit your closing date.
One more thing that especially when you're working with first time home buyers, is home insurance.
Mhm.
We just,
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Insurance companies now shifted what the age of a roof is, or
Yeah.
whether they're gonna insure a property. So,
And that should be done really, and it's a good point, because that should be done during the inspection time frame. You're doing property and flood insurance. So and right now there's some insurance companies like, we want insurance because it's an old roof. You know what I mean? Like yeah. Say it's good.
80 years old, it's fully functional.
Yeah.
But they won't do it without that piece of paper from an HVAC
Yeah.
person and or a roofer going up and saying, no, there was like 3 shingles. It could be 28 years old, a 28-year-old roof, but it's in good condition.
Yeah.
But they need that documentation. The other thing for first-time home buyers is to spell out-of-pocket expenses before closing. Like you covered that on the expense sheet.
Yeah.
But I say to them, once you get home inspection, it's like purchasing a service. You pay that as soon as the day after you have the home inspection, that $600 has to be paid. Your appraisal has to be paid before. So those costs are built in there,
Yeah.
because they're thinking it may come later down. No, it is the time the appraisal is done, you're gonna get a bill from the bank. They're gonna.
Well, you got to pay for the appraisal even for it to be scheduled most times. Yeah.
And sometimes like I deal with a lot of people who know what it is but when you get a home, they know zero.
Yeah.
And you also tell them not to purchase anything.
Yeah. And that's
Right.
a good time during this time, like before closing. I know you're excited. Don't go take out any credit cards and buy furniture or buy a new car or do anything. Don't make any purchases, like big purchases at all, until we close.
It really does need a new air conditioning returns.
Yeah.
And you're aware that you're gonna have to apply it. Okay, what do you do whenever it's like the insurance?
As for a home, as for a home,
Home warranty. Home warranty most of the
that they don't give the sellers, you don't know until you get home inspection.
Yeah.
So if you build that into part of like your asking for. Because actually, we just had one with my Baldwin house. The air conditioner.
Well, we're seeing on seller disclosure that it's, you know, 1990.
Yeah, but they might not know it's not working. You know what I mean? They might think, well, it works, that we don't have any problems with it, but like actually the heat exchanger's broken or something like that. You never know.
Today, it's not gonna indicate, I have not seen anyone come, the forthcoming saying it's bad or it's not functional.
Insurance.
The insurance, air conditioning is not in that.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
So my dad's furnace was 40 years old. It was still kicking.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just gonna replace it anyway.
Yeah.
And the first thing I did when I said it was, I didn't need it, with some of them,
But to your point is that home insurance companies, even when they start asking the person who's buying the house, how old is the furnace? And then they'll come to me or somebody else and
Yeah.
go, can you just give me an approximate age of it? That's where you run into the problem.
But that's why I recommend on the seller side and the buyer side, like for the buyer, the peace of mind, if you know you're getting old stuff, get a HS home warranty on there. And I'll fight with other agents. They put it on there, like it, especially on the buyer side. No, we want our home warranty because I know I want, and having Andrew in my back pocket, I'll take that all day over having any other company.
I agree.
And then on the seller side, like put it on the contract or just do it as soon as you do it. Say, yeah, we're going to do a home warranty and add on the $65 coverage just for the peace of mind. If something does break and comes up, you're probably going to save some money. Like, why not? You know what I mean? Like all my properties now, if I put them on the market, for like the rentals or flips, I just put a home warranty on there and adds the $65 seller coverage just to be safe. Like, it's just like, why not? And then they have that when they buy it, the first year, the buyers are getting it. And most of them are going to ask for it most of the time anyway. So it's just a good peace of mind. I do the cheaper one on the seller side.
Even though, like, say you're purchasing a home that comes with it and has the seller, and how long does it take for them to determine if they're gonna insure a property? So you went through the home inspection, some issues came up. It has a home warranty, it has the seller's warranty added onto it. What is that time frame?
Of how long before they get back to you?
He said, we'll say